Yeah. Who are we? We're mom proof. That's who we are. The whole idea of doing this is trying to help folks out with the art of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So we're back talking about these kids again. This is it. Parenting's really hard. There's a lot of stuff to take on.
It makes you kind of uncomfortable. And you know what, though? If you don't embrace that, if you don't embrace the actual struggle of being out of your league almost every day with one thing, you know what I mean? You haven't really accepted parenting. It's an acceptance that you will never get it 100% right.
You are that is a great way to lead into
You
this.
should.
Because parents, you're really never going to get it all right.
Ever.
You really are
Because
not.
there's always a zinger or there's something
No,
else.
and so being flexible, right? We want our kids to check in at 2:01 and it's 2:03. And where are they? Why haven't they texted back? I texted them.
Good one.
Right? I think it's important to be flexible. And when you're setting boundaries with your teenagers, you're saying check in by 10. And if 10:15 comes around and they check in,
it's got to be okay.
It's important
you
to
might
say,
mention it. Yes.
Yes. And not right then, probably. Like, glad to hear that you could call me.
Yes.
Glad to know you made some time. But guess what comes right back at you, right? The sarcasm will come right back around.
That's right. I agree.
You don't want to be.
Or maybe next time,
like
if they're running late, they're not going to call. Because they're like, oh, she's going to be.
Yeah, they're going to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
But I like what you said earlier too, Jamie, on a conversation the three of us were having about when they have made some kind of error and you have to do some disciplining / teaching. Hopefully it's more teaching. Sometimes we accidentally say stuff we wish we hadn't because we're emotionally invested.
Mm-hmm.
And but going back and apologizing is so important to just admit I don't have it all down. It's my first this, it's my last that. I've never experienced this. Parenting doesn't come with a book. How many times have you literally said it? Like there is no book.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We're winging it. We need you to remember that. And we've said that to our kids. And I do think there's a sliver where they go, okay.
All right.
We'll let you off of that one, Mom.
Well, right. And look, this is mirroring. We want them to apologize when they make mistakes.
Big time.
Yeah.
Own up to it. Have remorse.
Do you have kids that were good at that without teaching it? Like, do you have some that have been naturally inclined versus some that don't seem as inclined?
100%.
Same in our house.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if that's really part of their
Disposition,
DNA. You know, it's
astrological sign.
things that you have to, you have to really learn. I think you do have to learn certain ways to treat people. It's not just innate. Right. And that's where parenting comes in.
Boom, imagine that. We have a role.
Well, it's a repetitiveness, right? Like you have to constantly repeat it.
You do. It's not one time how to tie a shoe.
Right.
Listen, I will be saying this in my sleep, and probably someone should put it on my casket. It's just please
LML?
change the fucking litter box. Can't you smell it?
Ew,
Please. I'm sorry. Please, I've been saying it for 20 years. It's gonna
Hashtag
happen.
that.
Yeah, hashtag. Okay, I won't cuss, but that's me. I do. Can you please change it? How do you not smell that?
I love that because you were about to say, and I was thinking of this with your son being younger, and we're talking about what we have to model, what we have to teach, how to treat people, you know, how we're treating each other. But
That's
like,
right.
think about how they can get so like into bullying and just like the way kids are at school can sometimes really be mean. And I don't know if it starts from home. We haven't shown research to prove that it's always from the parents. It's usually as something a kid is trying to get a need met, and that's how they're going about it. But do you see that more, Sandra? Has your young guy or any of our kids experienced like bullying that can happen in the school or other settings?
Well, I think when he was when he first started school, because he's tall and he's big, so kids thought he was older than he really is, and plus he's always the youngest in the class because we didn't hold him back.
Oh, wow.
And so I think then he was getting picked on a lot, and he kind of likes to do his own thing. Like he's not one of these kids that gravitate to do what everybody else is doing.
That's going to pay off later.
Sure is.
But what he's done is that he has found humor. So he's a class clown now. So all of a sudden he's got all these friends and he's learned how to interact with that, right? But amongst his peers. But what I did notice is when he's around adult or older people, he tends to stay very quiet. And sometimes people...
Maybe he's observing.
Well, but sometimes that can come across as being rude too. So, but I do remember that my daughter was like that, and I would tell her all the time, like, I need for you to say hello. And even if they didn't, or if it was forced, and it got to a point where she automatically started doing it.
For sure.
So that's what I've learned from that, is that just keep saying it, not in a mean way, but just say, did you say hi?
Right.
And then, like, even though he didn't, then I'll say it again the next time and the next time, until eventually they just do it.
I wonder if they would do that with their peers. You know how you worry, you think about, and not worry necessarily, think about that cafeteria the first day. And now in elementary, we know they line them in by class.
Yeah.
In middle school, I believe they release them. I know our district and most districts have different procedures.
Yeah.
But that cafeteria view where you're going in and there's like one or two kids off by themselves.
Yeah. So
How
we
do
can
teach our
encourage our kids to be brave enough to say something to the
bothered.
lone wolf. Yeah, be bothered
Bothered.
enough
Yes.
but to do something good with it.
Yes.
I think that's part of really being.
To meet the kids where they are and something they can do to make a
Yes.
difference.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you know, we talked about community service and how important that is. And if kids can't find a group or something that they really want to do, whether it's mobile loaves and fishes or going to pick up the parks or animal thing, you know, instill that you're doing good for the world by being kind to others, someone who's sitting by themselves.
Yeah.
Take the extra effort to say hello. And what would it look like if you actually sat down with them?
Right. Or asked if they
Yeah.
can I sit here? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be almost unheard
And
of.
not
'cause the kids just
tolerating-
sit to their
Oh, they do. Their little clicks.
their clips.
Not tolerating the witnessing of bullying. Like that's the big one we were trying to teach when I was in there. And I know that
Well,
parents.
you've seen this.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
your
Yeah.
what's your take on it? What do you do? How do we help our kids to?
Definitely have to teach them about those bystander rules, which is if you are there and you are not stopping something that is occurring, whether it's getting an adult, which is probably the safest thing, or if you can intervening, your safety is always first. Then you're a bystander, and you're not doing anything. You're not being a positive influence. You're literally part of that bullying dynamic. And so you cannot sit there and watch. And I think that's so hard for kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because they all want to be
Well, it's hard
liked.
for adults.
it is. Well,
You watch things go on around
Yeah.
you. And what do we do?
you sit there and you're kind of shocked, and then you might get frozen a little
Yeah.
bit. But honestly, you know, as an adult, it would
Good conversation to have with the kids.
imagine going up to like a group of women and going like, "Are you being mean to this woman?" I mean, like, no, you don't want to start a fight. It's very much about assertiveness, not aggressiveness. But think about teaching our kids that one. Definitely.
I
not
think that happened before, Sandra. Wasn't somebody mean to you and I feel like I stepped
You
in there?
did.
What?
You sure
That's so
did.
As an adult.
Oh, and
That was rude.
but was it a man? And you were trying to cut
no,
him
it
off?
was a woman. She was being a real little bitch
Yeah.
to Sandra, and I did not like
Good
it.
for
That-
you.
Well, let me tell you what, that third margarita at ACL definitely helped. It gave
Are
me a
y'all
little
going to
liquid
ACL this
courage.
year?
I don't know.
We're
The
going
crowds
first
are just so
weekend.
much. But
I
it's pretty- I
know
don't.
it's hot too. But anyway, okay.
Anyway,
sidebar.
yes, bullying. So take up for your friends no matter what.
Yeah.
There's
have-
ways to get help. Ask an
Yes.
adult, report it, etc. You know, bullying has been known as a connector. Obviously, not necessarily a causation to suicide, but there's a correlation
And
between continuous bullying and then someone
Right.
harming themselves.
And we often think of it, only happens like elementary school or high school, let's say, but it also happens as they get older.
It does, and amongst adults.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you're in different groups and different things. So, and I'm glad you brought up suicide
Yeah.
only because
Yes.
it's important for us to say it to our kids.
Yes.
Nothing is ever so bad that you can't get through
That's
it. You
right.
can get through it. And those are conversations we need to continue to have,
yeah.
whether they're a freshman in high school, a senior in high school, a freshman in college. Those
26, living on their own.
Yeah.
Or, about
Yeah.
to move into an apartment, whatever. Yeah.
You need to talk about it.
It's something I think that is getting less taboo, which is amazing. I think we talked about earlier switching that phrasing to mental health literacy, which we thought was a little less threatening than just mental health, or you could say I'm a mental health advocate. And I think that allows it to feel like there's action, and we all know that people don't like feelings. People are afraid of that. So if we look like we're taking an action, we're bothered about it,
Yeah.
continue to talk about it. Got to model it with your kids if we want them to do it with their friends and their kids someday. Let's not rush that. That
Right.
procreation
No.
piece.
Except for me, I mean, I'll take more grandkids from the older ones.
Oh
older
yeah.
ones.
If you're out there and you are married and you have one
I mean,
kid
I'm just
already,
No big deal.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it is important because we don't we kind of like what you're saying, we kind of like stand by while things are happening. and then they watch or they see. And I mean, we've had moments like, it's funny too though, because you as a parent can get your kids automatically depend on you to do something, right? Like if we go to a restaurant sometimes and something happens or whatever, before, like if I would say something, my kids were like, "Mom, don't be that person,"
That's what I'm saying. My kids
Yeah.
tell me that. Like, I'm that person.
But guess what? When something goes wrong and you don't say something, the first thing they do is look at me and is like, "Aren't you going to say something?"
Good one. Good one. Like John Quinones, they have that show where they set up like a bullying situation or like a trafficking potential situation. Like it's all actors. And then they film people in the setting to see who will have the guts to go and intervene.
Yeah.
And it'll floor you. There's
What if we lived our life
I
like
know,
that?
like literally don't make
What
it be
a
on a
thought.
show, whatever, with that guy. And he goes, "Hey, you're really on camera." You know, it used to be called Candid Camera. Right?
Okay, John, could we get you on
John
the show?
Quinones. Because I think of the times that we've said something. I think it's probably more than when we haven't, right? Wouldn't you say you could feel good about being bothered to support
Absolutely.
people in a tough?
But it takes a long time. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes courage. It takes persistency. There's a lot of things that go along with that, and our kids are not going to have that right
They're
now.
not having that in their toolkit.
They're not ready.
No.
The
Yeah.
toolbox is not full.
But it's nice to see
And that's
some of it
up to
emerge.
us. Yes, that's up to us to help really not just model that, but encourage them and to talk about it. You know, do something kind, do something different, and do some community service. I'm sorry, I don't think there's any kid on the planet that shouldn't commit to a few hours,
For sure.
even a year.
Yeah.
Not
It's
a
really-
month.
I know, it's
just
cool if
to
you do it a month.
something. Let's just get people in the, and people are more giving today than ever before. There are thousands of NGOs and people that give
Say
back.
what that is for people that do not know.
Right. So NGOs, me?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we know,
Oh,
but what if
sorry.
our listeners?
Right. No, like Caring for Cambodia,
Yes.
like Staying Bothered, like Tune Into Life.
Yeah.
There's so many NGOs out there that you can make a difference with. And look, I chose to educate kids in another country because a little girl came to me and asked me for $1. I didn't reach out to do it on my own, but I did know because of people around me that giving back was the right thing. It's not always just innate. We hear it.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
important
you've
to
said
push our
before
kids
that
to just
it
leave
picked you,
their eyes.
which I thought was really awesome. Like the CFC picked you, like, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you feel motivated about something in your life that you, Sandra?
So many things. No.
I have so many plans.
Motivated and bothered.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think I'm
Stay
more motivated and bothered of people staying silent when they are upset about something, or like, let's say they have, you know, like some people suffer through anxiety or things, and I think people have gotten much better about it. Like they keep it to themselves, which I think makes it worse.
Yeah.
But kind of you can just talk through things. So then that's why I wrote the book, Just Keep Moving, or just why I do the social media stuff. It's just because, you know, I think that sometimes you help people without even knowing it. Like, you know, something clicks in them and they reach out to somebody and say
beauty.
something, and it just kind of eases them, because I don't think people should suffer alone. I think that you
No.
should speak up, and it's not that you're going to run around talking to everybody about it, but you should be able to say, like what you said, right? Like, how are you doing? Well, I'm not too well today, or, you know.
Right. And then go, oh, well, what's
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Like that next step with people is really, you know, it's more challenging. But you think about it, you're probably doing it with your people in your inner circle
Yeah.
already. It's
Right.
really what could we do to, and I do this activity with kids in session 2. So we do the 3 concentric circles. And this is a good one to do with your people, to look for who their support system is, and who they're influencing, but who's in that center with you that you know every day you're going to talk to or see, and, you know, probably would say, what? That doesn't sound like you're okay,
Yeah.
like naturally. And then that second circle is who are the really, really good acquaintances, and you probably don't see them every day, may not talk every day, but maybe you could go a little bit deeper to make sure those are intact. And then that third circle really is kind of like more coworkers, or just, you know, people you run into at the grocery store, even the checkers,
Yeah.
if you're really getting maybe the fourth circle. But you might want to consider, how are you interacting with those people?
Yeah.
And what kind of influence could I have that could change mental health? So, quick story. I go to the same HEB all the time because you don't have to think, right? Because you know your patterns. That's why I go to the same one. And I would constantly see this one guy working in the Pepsi area, or excuse me, Coke, whatever, which one, and stocking the shelves. And I'm an early bird, so I might get there at like 8:30 or 9 in the morning. And, he's finishing up the stocking, right? Because those guys work overnight. And I would just see him, and he looks and he's probably my age, so like late 50s. And this is maybe a year ago. And I would go by and I'd be like, he looks so depressed. Like, shit, man. Just like his vibe and everything. And then, like maybe one time, the next time I was like, hey, hi. And he was like, hello, super quick. I will tell you, we know each other's names now. When I see him, I tease him. I will go like, yo, and I'll say his name. And he'll be like, oh my God, where have you been? And we talk politics. We literally.
Oh, that's great.
I know.
Which, by the way, we're going to have to talk about that. Just with the kids. How do you handle it?
That is a good one.
Right?
And the short of that story is that he was in my like 10th circle. If you did concentric circles.
Yeah.
But I know that guy. And I look for him when I'm there, anyway.
That is that is a good story. And tell your kids, right?
I
So
do
they
need to
know.
tell my kids that.
It's so important that our kids have a bigger circle than just
That
what's
one.
at home
And this
or
one.
that bubble, right? And
Yeah.
we know for sure, research shows that teenagers need
Oh my gosh.
outside influences
Yes.
that are people that they can really turn to
God,
that are positive.
positive.
Whether it's your pastor, your neighbor, a coach, a teacher, a friend of a friend of a friend. That's on
Aunts,
the checklist.
uncles.
Do that mental checklist.
That is a good one.
Does your kid have at least 4, 5 people that they can turn to if not you? And not their friends.
That's right. Not their peer
Not their
group.
friends.
That's too close
People
to
outside
home.
of that.
They're
Yeah.
gonna. The peers aren't going to tell you the truth. The peers are going to tell you what works for them to keep your kid.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that. We as parents should remind our teenagers often your friends are not always going to tell you what's best. They're
Right.
going to tell you what you want to hear.
Boom. Ding, 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 ding. That happens even at your kiddo's age, though, right? I mean, are you seeing that? You said he's the class clown, and I know there's definitely positives to that. So I don't think of it. And as a teacher, I'm like, really, that little shit. But
God bless our teachers.
I know. I love our teachers. And can we pay them more? Double. Okay. Does he have a rap that is his reputation is that he has like what's his reputation? You know what I mean?
No, I think from what I've heard from other kids is that he's very respectful.
That's the important
So he's
part.
not like making
I was
fun of
joking.
somebody. His jokes are more like memes, silly stuff.
That's
he's
wonderful.
still very silly. He's
Aw,
not.
he's not tainted by.
He's not a mean-spirited
He's
person.
sweet. I know when he sees me, he's still kind of shy. I'm like, I'm not giving up on you.
Yeah.
You're gonna know who I am.
But I think it's no, it's not mean-spirited or from what I've heard from other kids, it's just not. And
Has he gotten bullied?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He used to when he was younger.
Before he was able to find this other part that
Yeah.
allowed him a role to contribute in a
Yeah.
way, and humor
Well,
is so
and
awesome.
So I think that's
Yeah.
good for parents to know if your kids
Being
getting bullied
yeah.
or you think they
Yeah.
are. What are the steps you do? I mean, you were in the
I
school
was.
system
We created a whole
forever.
system.
Yes.
We had a
What
good
do you
thing
do? You call
going.
who first?
Yeah.
You say what to your kid?
Yes.
And then
Okay, beautiful. So how do you know? Hopefully your kid told you. It's not always the case. So you would have to look for some behavioral changes, just like we might if there were drug use when they're older. Sleeping less, gritchy, won't eat, crying, etc. Breaking out when they don't normally. That could be puberty. So what you want to do is you immediately want to contact the point of contact whom with they spend the most time. So it would be that in elementary, it'd be the teacher of the classroom. At middle school and high school, it's going to have to be an assistant principal because there's just too many. Even if it's happening in a specific
good
classroom,
to know, though. That's good to
you
know.
want to go
Assistant
right into
principal
assistant
at
principal at
middle
middle and
school.
high.
yeah.
Teacher of record was what we call it for his actual teacher, his main teacher. And you're going to get those reports filed. The minute a parent says, I think my child's being bullied, it sets off an immediate protocol that is legally needs to be implemented. And so those teachers and assistant principals, because she or he will then get an assistant principal involved as well. But it's so close at elementary. It's just that's their town. So anyway, the process starts. A lot of interviewing. You should not call the other parent. You should not try to talk to the other
Good one.
students.
Go back to that.
Do not
Kathleen.
call the other parents.
not
or parents.
call the
no,
other parent.
because it has to be done.
How many times have you and I been like, hey, listen here.
My God.
I heard you're messing with my kid. That's not
I
going to
know
work
even
for me.
okay.
I know you should. You can't. I'm not saying I did
Yes,
that.
but maybe you did, or you thought of doing it even recently.
Thought thought about it when when I was a new parent. Now that I'm an experienced parent,
Yes.
I understand what to do.
But it is, because you want it. It's a knee-jerk reaction. It's
Right.
protection. It's not even
Right.
negative.
Well,
it's-
we've had it both. So when he was little, the only reason why I knew was because he was always coming home with like bruises, like he'd
What?
fall.
It was physical?
Well, I think he would like get pushed off the, whatever equipment they were playing with.
Sure.
So I did email the teacher, and then they were like, okay, we're going to keep an eye on it. But then the other thing I did was I felt like it was his confidence too, right?
Well, the
And
counselor will
so-
be involved in part of the protocol
Yeah.
is seeing what needs to occur for both the kid who has gotten bullied and the kid who is doing the bullying.
Right.
So that's part of the school's responsibility to offer him. And
Yeah.
you're just a super on board parent.
But I
would
put
use a
him in Taekwondo
I love
because
that, by the way.
it helped him
Yeah.
with confidence. It helped him. And I saw a huge change when we did that because it gave him confidence. And he was learning a skill that taught him balance, taught him. There is a lot of good stuff to it. That it wasn't that I wanted him to go fight anybody. I
No,
just
but
wanted him
it's
to like
perfect for that.
feel strong about himself. And I think
Is he
that
still
was-
in it?
Yeah,
Oh, how many years now?
it's probably been 4 years.
That is so
Yeah.
good.
So that was thing. But then
Don't be sarcastic. Okay. He whispered back at me.
when my daughter was in middle school, it was a different type of bullying. It was a boy who wouldn't leave her alone because he liked her.
And now
And
she ended
I-
up dating him for 4 years.
No, But
We love
I
you,
wanted
Zane.
to call the parent, but I did what you said. I called the
School.
assistant
Okay.
principal to their grade.
Yep.
And then I said, can we schedule a meeting with this parent? And they're like, no.
No. There's confidentiality.
So you know what? I
and
think
there's
that's good to
HIPAA.
know as
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
learn things as we go
Yeah.
with different
Yeah.
situations
Yeah.
like that, and being able to share that with other parents is
Yes,
really
I mean,
important.
those are good tips. because
Yeah.
it's-
Because
Yeah.
I think, this could happen at college too, right? But I do think the older they get, and of course now it's happening on social media, and we know that it's kind of private sometimes. We don't know what has been posted, and maybe things are rippling without us being aware. But I think I've seen, as far as trends and even bullying reports, it does happen primarily at middle school. They are just little boogers, and we all know what's happening. They're trying on all different
That's right.
identities.
Yeah,
and-
that's right. That's good to know, too.
Elementary,
It really is.
potentially, lots in middle school, and it does taper off. Although if you think it's extinct at high school, it is not extinct. And then, here and there because of a personality that may be just really crazy, like at college or something. And hopefully they don't bring that
Yeah.
kid home as their like significant other.
So we go back to a few tips,
Yeah,
right?
let's
So
go.
the way that we can find out about these things is talking with your kids.
Always.
Family dinners.
Yep. Oh.
Just do the family
Family
dinner.
dinner.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you can exercise together or there's classes like that and that works for you, and a kid's service opportunities together, find time together where you're doing something. And that's why the eating has worked, because you're eating. But again, we've talked about this. You can't just sit and go, so how's it going? There be like, get the hell away
Find
from
an
me.
activity.
Yes.
That's a good
Be
good tip.
active.
I like
and
that.
I like the service
With your
part because we
kids.
talk about
That's
staying
right.
bothered
Yeah.
about something so you can be
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get lots of sleep for these kids.
Okay,
and
so-
parents.
Yeah. Parents should sleep.
Parents,
Oh, kids.
parents and kids sleep.
Yeah. Let your kids sleep. Is that
Well,
a bit of
try to get the
advice?
9 hours if you can.
9 hours is
It should be
important.
more, but 9 is one of
Minimum.
those.
Okay,
yeah.
we're gonna
Adults
turn to
maybe
you as the
6 or
expert.
7. I mean, JD,
No. We need more.
I know.
Not true. We do.
really? I thought
Yes,
I
we do.
Okay, I always thought it was.
Oh yeah, studies show.
Okay.
That's a whole nother.
yeah, that's a whole
series.
series.
But this is good. So we'll just keep on keeping
Yeah.
on, doing what we can. If we can connect with any parents out there, check our website,
Yes.
Mom Proof.
Yes.
Check Staying Bothered. Just hang in there with us.
Yes.
So if you were gonna
Okay, go.
name a street after
Oh.
a situation you've had this year,
God.
how do you like this? It's right,
How did-
right off the
That's
fly. I don't know.
impressive.
What would it be?
Oh, I got you.
Okay, you were going to name a street after a
Situation,
situation
like
that's occurred this year.
Situation all effed up.
It can
Snafu
be- no, it
Street.
can be anything. It can
Snafu
be-
Street.
Like I'm fall in love lane.
Oh.
Oh,
That didn't catch
God.
us off guard at
That
all.
was so cute. Eric, what do you think about that?
You better watch these, Eric. That's a cute one.
Okay, don't.
hold
You
on.
just
I
gotta
know, I
go
know.
with it. Don't
If you know,
overthink
go.
it.
I'm still
Oh,
pondering.
we've got
It's
a
not
classic
snafu. It's not
overthinker here. Snafu's
No,
cute.
it's
You're
hasn't
not
been a
overthinking.
snafu though. That's
Okay,
go. You go.
You got one?
I think
Okay, go ahead.
transformation turnaround.
Turn around.
That's a
because I
good
feel like
one.
I've done some work that was necessary.
Wow.
I feel like my son is. I'm bragging to y'all the other day about
Okay,
him
yeah,
at HCI.
yeah.
That just really focusing on growing up, and he is doing a great job. And
That's because you're
Yeah,
you and Gary are
thank
great.
you,
Gary.
Gary,
So
yeah.
okay, we got transformation,
Turn
turnaround, fall in love, Lane.
Uh
What you got, Sandra?
She's.
I don't know.
Come on.
I would maybe say mismatched lane because I have just really been very mismatched with so many things recently. But I think that has to do with a lot of just finding myself, right? So maybe what worked before isn't working anymore. So
That's good to know.
Okay.
That's good to notice.
So we're also going to be offering classes from learninguniversity.com here. Okay, we're going to call this one a wrap until next time. Y'all are awesome.
Peace out.
thank you.
Ciao.